I guess it's still summer, right? Okay, not gonna lie, I don't know how to start this video. Basically, when I started making liveries for Assetto, it was hard for me to find good info on how to make them properly, and from the countless questions sent to me about it, I assume I wasn't the only one with this issue. I got inspired to collect my whole knowledge I have gathered so far into one single package for every newcomer. I in no way see myself as the most skilled livery creator for this game, and I feel this guide came out a bit chaotic, which I'm sorry for, but it's better than nothing. Also, I know my pronunciation isn't perfect since English isn't my first language, and because I was recording the voiceover like 3 AM sometimes, so you should put the subtitles on. Also, I didn't add any music to this video, so feel free to play whatever you like in the background. In this tutorial, I'm gonna go over both a 2D method and a 3D method, but mostly the 3D method because it requires a more detailed explanation. I recommend watching this video from start to finish first, instead of making your own project as we go, so you get a bit of a better understanding why we do some things. Of course, there are many programs and techniques you can use for your projects. I'm just showing you a beeline on how I do them, to give you a base to work off of. You should always feel free to experiment with different settings and ideas. Before we begin, I'll go over what you will need to start creating. As for the car, you will need either the ambient occlusion texture, AO for short, of the bodywork if you're going with the 2D method, or an FBX 3D model file of the bodywork in the latter case. I will show you how to easily obtain them, unless the car is encrypted, then you can check the mod folder if the creator left any textures for the livery creation. If not, you will need to kindly ask the creator for either one of those, because you won't be able to get them on your own. Just please don't go harassing anybody. I don't wanna have problems, and you don't either. Now for the programs and tools. At the basics, you need a program that will allow you to, of course, add stickers to the ambient occlusion texture, but also, once you're finished, allow you to export them as a direct draw surface file, which in short I will refer to as DDS file. I will be using Photoshop with NVIDIA Texture Tools Exporter plugin. I will leave a link to the NVIDIA plugin in the description if you also have Photoshop. You will need to make an account to download it, but other than that, it's free. I will also be using Adobe Illustrator to make my own decals in vector format for the highest quality. If you don't know what vector graphics are, they are made with paths instead of pixels, so they are always in the highest possible quality. A good free alternative to both of these programs is Affinity, as it supports both vector and raster graphics, although it doesn't support export of DDS files. NVIDIA Texture Tools Exporter also comes in a form of a separate program, and I think you should be able to convert PNG files into DDS ones, but this is something I have not tested, which I'm sorry for, and I kindly ask you to do some research on your own. The last program I will be using is Substance 3D Painter, which allows you to put stickers directly on the 3D model of the car, not necessary if you're going with the 2D method of course. We can start now. I hope you enjoy. Go ahead and open your selected car in showroom. Click Unpack LOD KN5. If this pops up, just click yes. This will export textures, shader data, and the model itself into a separate folder located in the directory of the car. To keep things clean, I always copy the model into my own project folder, and I recommend you do this as well. If you're going with the 2D method, you will need to look for the AO texture in the textures folder. To find it faster, go back into showroom and click on any body panel. In the tool window, you will find all the information of the mesh you clicked on. Name of the AO texture will always be next to TX diffuse. If you click on the 3 dots on the right, you can view the mapping and even calculate your own AO in any resolution. But the results aren't the best, and the process of baking one can be slow on your computer. My recommended resolution for this is 4096 by 4096. If you are seeing a blue and spiky blob and don't have the Unpack LODKN5 button, that means the car is encrypted. In my case, I have this RX-7 made by Euros. Right-click on the car in Content Manager to open up its directory. You may find an extra folder with the necessary files for making liveries. I'm gonna switch to Substance now. Once in here, close the small window, go to File, then New. Select the exported model. If your settings are different, you can just copy mine from the screen and hit OK. Your layout may be different because I have rearranged the windows a bit. You can do it by dragging them around, they should snap in place once you let go. When holding left Alt, you can rotate using the left mouse button and move using the middle mouse button. Zoom in and out by just using the mouse wheel normally. After quickly inspecting the model, Set the view to orthographic. I always switch environment alignment from world to camera, so that the light moves with your camera. Adjust the environment rotation to whatever you like most. In the top right corner, I'm gonna look quickly for meshes I'm interested in, with the hide icon next to them. Let's go into the baking tab. In the drop-down menu in texture set list, uncheck all texture sets, because we don't want to bake all of them. Scroll through and check the ones you need. You don't need AO for windows or glass, so don't select them. With the main body selected, in general settings, set the output size to 8K or 4K depending on what resolution your computer can handle. Set anti-aliasing to super sampling 64x. Next, go to ambient occlusion settings. Set ignore backface to always, self-occlusion to only same mesh name, tick ground plane, and leave it at 0. Now, as I want to add some paint chipping later, I'm gonna leave all of these textures on and add height, because Substance will need this information. But I'm gonna explain more once we get to it. Basically, if you don't care about these tiny details and want to keep a clean build, then you can uncheck all and just leave the ambient occlusion on. In the drop-down window, select Apply all settings to all texture sets. Now, leave just the AO for any other meshes you have selected. You should be ready to hit the blue Bake Selected Textures button. Baking process takes a bit of time, so be patient and let it do its thing. Once done, go back into painting mode. On my end, some issues appeared, but we can fix it later. By holding Alt plus Shift and dragging with left mouse button, you can pin the camera to a specific view, like the sides or top. You don't have to do it at this stage, but I'm gonna add some paint because I have a rough idea what I wanna go for. With body mesh selected, go to the Layers tab and add a fill with the bucket icon. Scroll down in Properties, turn off normals and height, set your base color and play around with the metallic and roughness. This will have no impact on the final build, but will help us visualize the livery. I want to add a two-tone effect, so I duplicate the base paint and make it black, then add a black mask. Using the polygon fill and switching the selection setting to mesh, add black paint to where I want it to be. Roof won't work as easy because it and rear quarter panels are the same mesh, but we don't have to worry about it right now. I'm gonna switch back to Paint tool to get rid of the wire mesh, grab a screenshot, paste it into Illustrator, and start working on some tribals. You can paste it of course to whatever program you like. Make sure to save this Substance project file in your project folder. If you are going with the 2D method, you can always paste screenshots from Assetto's showroom. Make sure to get as close as possible to recreating an orthographic view. Just move away from the car very far and increase the zoom. I recommend scaling your screenshot to be 8K or 4K in width, depending on what resolution your texture is. So when we are gonna export our decals, they're gonna be already in good resolution. I have decided to speed this up because I don't do anything special here, I'm just using the pen tool to create some shapes. You should be able to easily find tutorials for your specific program if you're new to making vector graphics. It's a good time for me to go briefly over where you can study livery design. When I started making liveries for Assetto, I was mostly recreating existing ones that I found iconic, instead of creating my own. While I was reverse engineering them, it made me slowly realize what makes a good eye-catching livery. I won't go into depth on what I have learned to make this tutorial as short as possible, but I want to encourage you to try learning this way as well. To clarify, I do not mean you should now go chasing other people's work and claiming it as your own. Be respectful. When it comes to creating new designs, I would like to shout out some Instagram accounts that always amaze me and make me feel very inspired to try new things. I would absolutely love to see them grow further, and for you to send some love their way. Team Burnout, Admiration Auto, Sorcerer, Silver Bullet, U200 Bow, Dream Chasers, and Auto Gallery. Auto Gallery is actually a whole community instead of a singular person, but it deserves more recognition as well. I really would like to thank everyone mentioned for being my inspiration for years now, and tell how great your work is. If any of you dislike being mentioned here, send me a DM on either Instagram or Discord, and I'll remove you from the video. I do not have any bad intentions, just wanted to send more traffic your way. I could also advertise my own Instagram account, but I post rather uncommonly. Back to the video. My design is somewhat complete, So I will export it into a new subfolder in my project folder called decals to try it on in Substance. I like to name my tribals with some A's at the beginning of the file name, so they show up at the top of the list in Substance and don't get lost within sponsors. In Substance, just drag and drop your images from the folder to the Assets window. A new window should pop up. Select all images and set them to texture. Click Import. We're gonna drag our empty paint layer on the top of our fill layers. Select the projection tool, scroll down in Properties, increase backface cooling and hardness, then leave just the color button checked. Drag your selected texture into base color to paint it on. In Viewport, you can move, scale and rotate the projection while holding the S key. Hold Shift and scroll to adjust your brush size. Now, I wanted to show off here how the projection tool works and how different backface cooling values can change the projection, because it's hard for me to put into words, but I didn't do a good demonstration. Basically, you want to set a good camera angle when applying decals, and backface cooling controls how much the decal penetrates the material. When applying the decal, increase the size of the brush and tap the left mouse button once instead of brushing it on to avoid pixelated edges. Seemingly, your brush size tops out at 100, but you can manually set it up to 400, which I do when applying patterns on the side. Make sure to turn on mirroring so your decals will be symmetrically applied on the other side as well. Remember, tap on the body just once. If it doesn't look correctly, adjust the projection settings. Repeat for all of your decals. You can fix mistakes by using the eraser tool. You will need to adjust hardness here as well. Add new paint layers by clicking on the paintbrush icon above your layers. I highly encourage utilizing the layers because you can easily fix any mistakes later, keep your work organized, and export the layers separately once you're finished, which will be very helpful once we get to the Photoshop section. Now, as you can see, I'm trying to make the roof black to match the rest. To make it easier for myself, I switched to a 3D/2D view to preview how the AO is set up. It's a good time to explain why I used my friend's S15 instead of my own RX-7. You see, this car has a very nicely set up AO mapping. I wanted to show how a good AO looks for the 2D method. Every body panel is nicely laid out, so you wouldn't need to use Substance or any similar program to put the design together. Sadly, most of the modded cars I have encountered have the body panels scattered around to maximize the texture space, and it makes it hard to add patterns that flow through the entire car using the 2D method. That's why the 3D method is more practical, as it places the design for you. But please don't feel discouraged, I too have had my beginnings with the 2D method as well, so don't give up. As our paint scheme is finished, time to add sponsors and other stickers. Don't know where to find them? I got you. I present to you the Sticker Collection Community Discord server. It is a huge resource of car and car-related brand logos and stickers. I want to thank and give a big shout out to all the contributors on there, because they are doing an amazing work by bringing a lot of high quality PNGs for your use. Read the server rules, find what you need, adjust to your liking, and lay it on the car. It's that simple. Also, please use the Discord search function before posting anything. Same as before, import the stickers, create a new layer, start applying them, and make sure that mirroring is on. Yes, stickers will be flipped on the other side this way, but this will help us maintain the placement. Another way I have seen people apply the stickers is by just dragging them onto the body and selecting base color. I guess it could be useful in some cases, but I usually don't do this because I find it tedious and don't see a difference in the final result. If there is a difference, please feel free to let me know in the comments. What we are gonna do now is turn off the mirroring, create a new layer, apply the stickers the right way, and erase the flipped ones from the layer below. It does feel a bit amateurish, I admit, but works just fine. After finishing that, go to other meshes and add stickers there. Nothing new here, and I believe based on your current knowledge, you're able to do this on your own, so I will speed up this process. For a final advantage of using Substance, I'm gonna show how to add some damage and paint chipping. Of course, feel free to skip if you'd like. This is the reason why I baked all of those other textures for the body. I'm adding a new preset metal material on top of everything, a black mask to it, then attach a generator to that mask. As a generator, I'm using metal edgeware. It needs to be adjusted to look sharper and more believable, but instead of me explaining everything, you should watch either this quick tutorial by Royal Skies or this longer one by Production Crate, which goes more in depth if you're interested because they explained way better than I do. Once you're happy with the finished design, it's time to export. To export many layers of the same mesh as separate PNGs, we will need to leave just the specific ones on and export it a few times. Go to File and Export Textures. In the new window, click Uncheck All. Now check the ones you want individually. In Global Settings, set your output directory to your project's subfolder and name it Textures. For the other settings, set Output Template to document channels plus normal plus AO with alpha. File type to PNG and 16 bits. Size to 8K or 4K depending on what size you have baked your textures. Padding to dilation plus transparent and leave it on 16. Go to each of your selected textures and leave just the base color and mixed AO, except for the windows and banners, since we don't need the AO for those. Click Export. Once done, go to your folder and rename the textures. We need to do this because when you're gonna export the next layer, it will overwrite the previous one. Go back, change the visible layers, uncheck the textures you don't need to be exported again, and repeat as many times as you need to. And with that, our work in Substance is done. You can re-enable your layers, save the project, and close the program. With my slightly broken AO in Photoshop, I've decided not to use it. I replaced it with the original texture from the Unpacked folder of the car's directory and scaled it up to 8K. Most likely you won't have these problems, but if you do, you can also contact the mod creator for the texture. Add all exported textures to your project in correct order and rasterize them. You will want to pay attention now because this is the most important part for everyone. When you have your design ready, put the AO on top and set the blending mode to multiply. Add a color fill layer if you want to have a better visualization. Go ahead and fix any mistakes. Now is the best time for it. Using masks, you can remove parts of the livery in a non-destructive way. By painting with black, you remove from the layer, and with white, you can bring it all back. Remember to save the document in your project folder. Okay, a small intermission here. I forgot to do this before, but you should create a skin folder for your new livery. I assume most of you can already do this, but if you don't, open your car in showroom, click Paint Shop, and pick your color. I like to set the flakes to the max. Change Modify Current to save as new, name it, preferably with a 2-digit number in the front, and use underscores instead of spaces. And hit save. Back to the project. If you want to play around with the colors, here's a few ways to do so. Disable your AO, go to Image, Adjustments, and Replace Color. Use the eyedropper to pick the color you want replaced. You can adjust the range of colors that will be selected with the fuzziness slider. Double tap the result color to have more control. Another way is to use a gradient map to easily change more layers and colors at the same time. Attach the filter to a specific layer so it doesn't affect anything underneath it with that square with an arrow icon above your layers. Also, I want to show you a very interesting feature of Content Manager. In Content Manager, go to your Settings, Content Manager tab, and into Plugins. Install magic.net. Now, if you save your Photoshop document in the skin folder of the car with the same name as the txDiffuse texture, then in Showroom, tick the box next to Skin Editing Mode, Content Manager will load up the Photoshop document as the livery. How neat is that? This should help a lot of you using the 2D method preview your designs more easily. Although you should keep in mind that this will impact some of your PC's performance, so be prepared. Once you're ready to export your DTS file, merge layers with their attached filters, apply the mask to their layers, and merge only the parts of the livery. Do not save the document now. Doing so would prevent you from making quick fixes when you open your project again. By holding Ctrl and clicking on the layer icon, a selection will be made. Pick any of the selection tools, right-click on the image and save selection. Click OK. You should now have a new channel called Alpha. This is important because DDS files use the Alpha channel as transparency, That way, we can not only preserve flakes and the ability to change the paint whenever we want, but also do some cool stuff later. Delete the fill layer and flatten the image. Go to File and Save As. Go to your skin directory. If you have installed the NVIDIA plugin, you should be able to pick the DDS format. Name the file with the same name as the file assigned to txDiffuse in Assetto. I have to admit that I'm not an expert with the settings here, but here's what I always do. Set the format to 8888 RGBA and tick off Generate Bitmaps. When it comes to compression, I usually leave it at normal because I don't see any difference between the other settings. Click Save and give it a few seconds to process. First texture done, but we are not finished with the body, so don't close your project just yet. If you want to make our stickers chrome, we need to make a txMap texture. I have prepared a small presentation to show you how we can manipulate specular and reflections to our needs. A txMap texture uses RGB values to dictate how specific parts of the car should be shaded in-game. At first, we have a skin with a black texture, which means all channels red, green and blue are set to 0. This results in no reflections and almost no specular visible. Next, we have a green texture, which seems to be no different from the black one. To realize its purpose, let's take a look at the next two skins. A red texture makes the car fully coated in specular, and a blue texture gives the reflections, but they are very blurry. I left a magenta texture here, which is a combination of red and blue, just for the showcase purposes. Now, a combination of green and the other two channels fixes the issues we had with them before. In conclusion, red channel stands for the amount of specular, blue channel stands for the amount of reflections, and green channel is what keeps them sharp and focused. From this, we can deduce that we should keep the green channel at high levels for the whole texture. With this knowledge, we can get back to work. First, remove the alpha channel because you won't need it for this texture. Move the AO texture to the bottom and put a gradient map filter over it. Set the dark parts to a pure green color. I set the light parts to a color that's lighter and a bit more yellow, but not fully white. We don't want the same amount of reflectiveness on the body as the chrome stickers. Remove the layers which you want to have the same shader properties as the rest of the body. I make a copy of the layer that contains the stickers and start working on separating parts I want to be chrome from the rest. For this, I recommend using masks, and if you double tap any layer, you can play around with this slider to leave only white parts of the stickers. Put this layer in a folder and attach another gradient map to said folder. Change the color of chrome parts to this very light cyan color. I don't want much specular on the chrome as it tends to blind my eyes in the game. Now bring back the rest of the stickers and double tap the layer. Go into Color Overlay tab to change its color to this yellowish dark green. Also, you can adjust the damage layer this way as well. With that done, export the texture into the skin folder with the same name as your txMap texture. The rest of the textures will be way less complicated. To quickly recap, drag the PNGs into your document, put the AO on top and set the blending mode to multiply. Hold Ctrl plus click on the sticker layer, then save selection to create an alpha channel and flatten the image. Resize to a lower resolution to save some disk space. Then export as DDS texture with correct name. When it comes to window stickers, just create a black fill layer and put it at the bottom. We don't want a white background or leaving it transparent because that would make the windows look foggy. Congratulations! You now know how to make and export textures for your liveries in Assetto. You might think we are done, but nah-uh, look at the time left on the video. I still have one more cool thing to show you. The famous custom shaders patch, created by Ilya Yusupov, aka XFab, provides new ways to customize your paints and other materials. Here I've got an entire code that shows you all options, with short descriptions on what they do. I will leave a link to this website in the description, which I encourage you to read for yourself after watching this guide to get a better understanding of everything. To apply these new additions, first we need to create a new text document in the car's skin folder. Name it ext_config.ini. You can open this file in any coding program, but regular notepad works just as well, so that's what I will be using. Make sure to also add a header to the file. It's that include common/materials_carpaint.ini text in the square brackets. I have set it up quickly off screen, and I will paste this code in the description, so you don't have to do that on your own. To make our code work, we need to tell it what is the name of the material we want to apply it to. Once again in Showroom, if you click on any mesh, the toolbar will show you the name. Copy and paste it next to the materials variable. Now, when you launch the game, new properties from our code will be applied to the material, and we can adjust them to our liking. Set a good camera angle and pull up your config. I will go over as many variables as I find necessary. Let's start with specular. Specular base is the big shine on our paint from any sources of light, and specular sun, though it seems counterintuitive, still comes from every source of light and is a smaller and brighter sparkle. Both of these have two values. The first one controls how bright it is, and the second one controls how much shine spreads on the surface of our car. For the second one, a smaller number means a bigger spread. To see the effects better, we can turn down brightness adjustment, which doesn't affect the speculars. For the base, I like to set the second value to something between 8 and 15. Increasing the colored specular value makes the specular use more color data from our textures. You can also use base specular color to make custom specular colors. The three values stand for red, green and blue. I advise not changing this on cars that have a livery. Flakes K controls how prominent the flakes are, but also can affect the livery parts in strange ways. Ambient specular is the shine from the world's surroundings. Can look very different depending on the weather, so try not making those values too extreme. Also, unlike other speculars, brightness and spread are separated into two different variables. FresnelMax and FresnelC are reflections, though I don't quite understand the difference between these two, so when I increase one, I also increase the other. Since we lowered the reflections on our txMap texture, we're gonna increase them now with these variables. Right now our chrome stickers have maxed out reflectiveness, which makes them look the way they should. You can also add more color to the reflections by increasing Use Metallic Reflections value. Clear coat is something I rarely touch and haven't experimented much with. I usually keep thickness at low values and set reflection sharpness to 1. Tint is of course the color. You may have noticed that I'm using a Chameleon Carpaint Material. There are many presets like solid, metallic, matte or pearl, but I choose this one because it gives me the most control. Before showing it off, I'm gonna explain the masks real quick. As you can remember, we have made an alpha channel for our livery texture, which is what these variables are also using. Leaving this at 0 applies our changes to the entire material. Setting them to 1 applies changes only to the areas where the alpha channel is black. But there is another setting. If you type invert with capital letters, effects will be only applied where the alpha channel is white. Let's set the opacity of both chameleon colors to 1. They use hex values, so a color picker will come in handy. Exponent and center control how the colors are scaling. For my car, I'm gonna use dark red colors to simulate more depth in the paint. So far, the paint adjustments are done, but I will later go back to make black paint darker and main paint more red to adjust them more to my liking. Remember that at any point you can go back to do changes if you still have your project files. Using Object Inspector app in-game, you can inspect meshes too, and add more materials to the same code by putting a comma after previous material name. This way I will adjust the wheels as well using a chrome material preset. By adding shader replacements, we can switch out textures of materials, or meshes if you replace materials variable into meshes one. Resource stands for what texture assignment you want to switch out. In this example, I'm using txDetail, which is the base paint. You can either input resource color with a hex value next to it, or a resource file with a texture that exists in the skin folder. By adding another header with interior materials, you can make a mesh carbon if you have a carbon normal texture. Detail scale adjusts the size of the texture. The smaller the value, the bigger the texture is. Carbon material uses different variables because it comes from a different extension config. Mess around with the values to get your desired result. Lastly, you can adjust windows by adding a materials glass config header. Might help you if your window stickers came out dark. Also, you can tint windows a specific color, but I did this only once and can't seem to get it to work right now. Oh well. You can either look through every config script for CSP on GitHub or check out Digital Vay's YouTube channel because he has a series that shows many more cool features of extension configs. And with that out of the way, we are truly finished. Hey, still here? Thank you for sticking around and watching the entire video. This really means a lot to me, since I have spent a lot of time learning everything I showed you today. Once again, I'm sorry if this guide came out a bit chaotic, but I hope you have learned something new. If you still have any questions after this, I wish you will find your answers in the other sources I have mentioned throughout this video. If not, leave a comment, or you can always drop me a DM either on Instagram or Discord. Even if you're watching this maybe a month later or 6 or hell even a year later, I hope this tutorial will serve the community for a long time. Once again, I thank you and everyone who has supported me. Darwin, Mind, Gingy, If So, Jaggy, JSpec, and most importantly, Pius. My final message to everyone watching? Have fun, but be respectful. Stay creative, stay original, express yourself, and stay safe. See ya!